You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
I'll call to order the October 23rd meeting of the Planning Board here at Wickham Hall. I'll begin with the roll call. Scott Self, I'm here. Michael York is not here and won't be here. Richard Lane. Here. Brennon Self is not here and will not be here. Victoria Ames. Here. Mark Scalera.
Here.
Jane Johnson, alternate. Stacy Goodell, alternate,
Here.
and Mark LaBelle, Selectman's rep. So I will seat Stacy for, see who comes first here, for Richard.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah, I looked at the list right here. Mike, sorry about that. Every meeting, I gotta make a mistake with somebody's name, right? So, the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from October 9th, 2025. Public hearings, there are none, and discussions and other business. We have Chad Brennon will not be here, was on the agenda, but he won't be here, not feeling well. Wetland Conservation District, public hearing date and brief discussion, and warrant article discussions, rough draft of amendments and discussion. And then adjournment. Going back up to the top, we do not need our regional impact vote because there's nothing on here, no public hearing, something like that. So we'll move right to the approval of the October 9th minutes.
So, well, corrections.
Yeah, I guess we'll make the motion to approve. We used to do it both ways. I don't know, our former note-taker wanted us to do it the other way. So if we have a motion to approve the minutes
So moved.
by Richard, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Then is there any further discussion or changes or corrections?
Yes, under the meeting dates that are there, November 13th is apparently we voted to go the 6th.
Okay, yep.
And December, instead of the 11th, apparently we voted to go the 4th.
Okay, I guess we did. And I have that written down there. 2014, yep. So everybody got that? The next meeting, our meetings for November would be on the 6th and the 20th, and December would be the 4th and the 18th.
So the first and the third Thursday, I guess, is what we're doing here.
It looks like, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other further discussion on those minutes of October 9th? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
I'll abstain.
And those are out of the way, and Mark abstained. So down the list, we will go right to the Wetland Conservation District, and we have a public hearing date and brief discussion about the Wetland Conservation District after a phone conversation with our attorney. Just a few small changes in there, and they're noted in our packet here with the arrow on there. And the first one we come to is under general provisions, and I'll just read it out. In all cases where the Wetlands Conservation District is superimposed over another zoning district in the town of Swanzey, or is less restrictive than state law governing wetlands, including but not limited to RSA 482-A:210, those regulations that are more restrictive shall apply. That was the addition, I think, the reference to the RSA, I'm pretty sure, on that. Was that correct, Adam? Yes. Yeah, so just referencing that RSA, which actually is a definition of the wetlands, the state's definition.
So that X is not a placeholder, it's a real X, right? Okay.
I will be double checking that before the hearing, just FYI.
They're so tricksy.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, so whenever when I notice this, that notice will have the triple checks, RSA version.
Triple and quadruple checks there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and
the meaning of this is simply, I mean, that's just true categorically of everything we do, right? If there's state regulations that are more restrictive, then
yeah, you can't go less than that. Yeah, exactly, yeah. They define a wetland as a certain thing, which we have it in our definitions anyways. It refers to the same RSA. So, yeah, that's it. You can't do anything that they don't allow. And we've been stuck with that forever. So it shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. And let's see, our next one I think is on page 4, and it's down under F, the conditional uses, and it's item B underneath that, where it just states new structures on lots with non-conforming structures or additions to legally pre-existing structures, provided that there is no encroachment closer to the wetland. The clarification was closer to the wetland on that one. Small matter. And let's see, and I think that was it for Cardell's comments on there. But I do have one other thing, and that is on page 6, under special provisions. And it has number 2, it states wetlands as defined in section B of this ordinance. And section B is the definitions, and has definitions of everything in there, including the buffer areas and the setback areas. And do we mean to exclude those areas from someone using for minimal density, or density factor? Because this takes that, I'm thinking if we changed it to C, because C lays out what the wetlands are. I think our intent is to not have wetlands included to satisfy the minimum lot area, but not necessarily restrict the use of the setback or the buffer area there when they're calculating the minimum lot area. So if it refers to C, C tells us, if I get to it in time here, it tells us what the wetlands are in our district area. The definitions, of course, they talk about wetlands, but they talk about everything else, including, like I just mentioned, including the setbacks and the buffers. So it would include those, I would think the way it reads, in defining that. But C does not. C is district boundaries, and it just talks about it. Wetlands of any adjacent size, any size adjacent to surface water, vernal pools, talks about that, any freshwater wetland over 1,000 square feet. It tells exactly what the wetlands are. So I think our intent is to mean that you can't use your wetlands to determine minimum lot size.
I actually think that's acceptable.
Yep.
Yep, so let's just change that reference to C.
So C refers
That
to,
was the intent, honestly.
To have it under C.
Yeah, I think it would be.
It probably was, but it just noted B under there, so, you know.
C refers to the boundary and
I think it still
what's
accomplishes.
incorporated, whereas B is the actual definition of wetlands. Right?
Plus other definitions in there too that don't fall under, you know.
Yeah, but we're talking specifically about wetlands.
Yeah, we're
as
talking
defined,
just about
so-
the wetlands, yeah.
Could we just, I mean, I know we have time, if we could just run, let me run this by Sherry, because she is so fastidious about this document, and I just want to make sure it really is the intent of the Conservation Commission. I think it is, but.
Yeah, run it through. It's not the intent, in my opinion, it's not the intent of the planning board, but, you know, if it's in the intent of the Conservation Commission, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
I think it's worth a phone call tomorrow,
okay.
if there's any huge issues, I'll raise them, but I, hopefully this won't raise it.
Do you want me to do that?
You and I can work if you want.
What's that?
You and I can work that on a call, or if you can get a hold of her.
I can just send her a text, just,
Yeah.
you know, just alert her that this was discussion
Yep,
tonight.
that's good.
I mean, she's losing sleep. So we
Well,
want
yep.
to make sure she's,
Yep, and a lot of work, I talked to her on the phone too, a lot of work she's put into it, I know, and you gotta respect that. I don't see she'd have a problem with that.
I don't think
she
she
meant to put
will,
those in
but
there.
sometimes I miss things that
Okay,
she thinks of.
okay.
Excuse, I'm going to ask you a question here. Under the special provisions, this is what you're changing,
Yeah.
a reference, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and you're saying it should be in section C?
Reference section C.
Okay. Section C for me is district boundaries.
Yep, district boundaries, but read what district boundaries are.
So it's actually, I think what you're probably getting at is that C defines what the Wetlands Conservation District is.
It does, maybe we could change it to, well, district boundaries, it does say it, that's what it is, district boundaries.
Yeah.
But you're referencing that you cannot use wetlands of any size adjacent to surface water, you cannot use vernal pools over 500 square feet, you cannot use any freshwater wetland over 1,000 square feet, which includes marshes, swamps, bogs, and wooded bottom lands, and any surface waters, including rivers, streams, and intermediate streams, and the land under those waters, to determine what your minimum lot size is.
What if we made it clear that when we're referencing, section B, what if instead of saying wetlands as defined in section B, what if it said, a wetland as defined in section B? That way you know you're only looking at wetlands.
Actually, you know, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what you just brought up there, you know, I completely missed that, really. It does say wetlands as defined, and there's only one wetlands definition in there. So,
Yep.
really, if I'd seen that, I wouldn't even have brought it up. So,
Okay.
I guess we'll leave it as B.
Okay.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Yep. All right.
And you're striking the S
Yep.
out the wetland.
Wetland, or wetlands?
Making it singular for the definition?
We're leaving it as B, and yeah, could make it, you're right, singular, right, because it's singular.
Pepper and speed up.
Let me just look
If
again.
you want, I can just make it all wet, like, just make it singular, so it fits the,
Yeah, so it fits the definition. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Yeah, good catch.
I don't think you can call Sherry like that.
No, we don't, because we're right back to B again. Yep,
So you're just removing an S?
yep,
Okay.
And preceding it with A.
yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for wetlands there, unless anyone else has anything. Charlie, you have anything on that? Good. Okay. So that brings us to proposed, or actually dates and actual proposed wording of the articles. And Article 2.
Oh, yeah. Keep going.
Yep, and that is just tells us what we're doing here. Vote by ballot on following amendments proposed by the Swanzey Planning Board to the Town of Swanzey zoning ordinance.
Yep.
New text is in italics, deleted text is struck through.
So you all haven't seen a lot of this. This is the first you're seeing it presented to you
Yep.
this way. Let's go down the list, and I will explain my rationale behind all of this. Any questions or concerns? I know that there's going to be some concerns, but it's not the first time we're going to be talking about this. So, as you all know, zoning amendments are covered in Article 2. That is where we are here. I am proposing 9, possibly 10 zoning amendments. And I'm doing that because it has been confirmed by Cordell that the wetlands changes only take up one of our amendments. So, if we have the real estate, let's try to use it while we can. The first amendment you all have seen, it's simply saying that the planning board is proposing to replace section 7 of the Town of Swansea zoning ordinance with a new section 7 in order to amend the definition of the Wetlands Conservation District, establish revised provisions for permitted uses, and adopt a procedure for conditional uses. The full language of this amendment is available for inspection at the town clerk's office.
Will that be online also?
Yes. Yep, it'll be online, it'll be posted at both post offices, it'll be in our office, it'll be everywhere, really. That's just the language it needs to say, for what I say. Any questions on amendment number 1?
No.
Okay. Let's go down to the stuff you guys haven't seen yet. Amendment number 2 states a change that is being required by HB 577. This is a change from the accessory dwelling units RSA. Essentially, all we're doing here is taking out the section that requires an interior door or a second means of egress, because in HB 577, you can no longer mandate that interior door connection. So they can choose that or an exterior egress ingress. So we need to get rid of that section. We don't have a choice.
Yep.
And then 6 there, you can see that we're getting rid of the for each bedroom contained in the AADU because DADU and AADU we can only require 1 parking space. So that language needs to be removed. And then Cordell instructed me on some language to go after this. The language will read, required by HB 577. And then if the amendment fails, we need to insert a technical note into the ordinance. That note does not need to be voted on. The note will just read mandated by blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It has to go into effect.
Yep, it will. So, right, if it fails, it probably won't, but if it fails, yeah, the zoning would be worded just as it is in the zoning, but that little disclaimer would be at the bottom there.
Exactly. Moving right along, number 3, kind of the same deal here, but you'll notice that in the detached accessory dwelling unit section, I crossed out by special exception only because they are now permitted by right in all zone districts where single-family residences are permitted. And then I also crossed out detached accessory dwelling unit and wrote DADU just to keep the language consistent. The first time you mentioned detached accessory dwelling unit, parentheses DADU, that signals your brain to just say DADU. So, language consistency, yes.
So, an attached dwelling unit, accessory dwelling unit, is a right.
Yes.
A detached accessory dwelling unit is also a right.
In any, yes, in any.
Can they both be a right on the same property?
Can they what?
Can I do both?
On the same lot? No, you cannot. You can only have one ADU per lot.
Okay, because when I read this, it all of a sudden hit me.
Yeah.
Saying, well, I'm guaranteed I can do this, and I'm guaranteed I can do this. Can I do them both?
Yep, only one DADU shall be allowed without additional requirements.
Okay.
But he's talking about the ADU as well, attached. You know, what he means is that, I have an attached one and a detached one, because it
No, you
only
can't.
specifies the detached one.
Yeah, the RSA goes into that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
If we want to go into that, we can.
We'll take your word for it.
No, I just want to make sure that there wasn't a loophole here that we,
Yeah, only one is allowed by right without further considerations for lot size, frontage, space. And at that point, you're getting into multifamily territory. Yeah.
Right, yeah, you would.
I also crossed out the next section below that, requirements, limitations. I did that just to keep the language consistent. If you look at our ordinance now, you'll notice that DADU and ADADU, it's kind of all over the place. So it's gonna look the exact same for both of them. It'll make more sense when you see it, done.
And they are needing a special exception anyway, so that's gotta come
Yeah.
out of there.
And then, for number 6, I also, again, I crossed out for each bedroom contained in a DADU because, again, we cannot mandate more parking being required, so.
Yep.
That's also required by HB 577. All right. Any questions on ADU stuff?
Pretty straightforward, everybody? Yep.
Mandated by the states.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the stuff, or a couple of things that aren't mandated by the state, but just, I was thinking about this earlier this year, thought I'd bring it up. I noticed that in the rural agricultural districts, there were some language inconsistencies, and also, I think it's a good idea to start, allowing two-family dwelling by right. In
Yeah,
rural
special
ag
exception now.
and residence. It's a special exception. I really don't think it should be a special exception. I just think it's kind of silly. Two-family dwelling, it's just a duplex. I really think it should be permitted by right. Clear up some red tape around housing.
Any comments on that?
Yeah, I'd like
in all the districts that single-family is allowed in?
Yeah.
Rural ag.
Yeah, so only rural ag and residence. That's the only thing I'm
Oh,
proposing.
I missed it.
really.
I was reading something else.
Yeah,
Okay.
it shouldn't be too controversial, I don't think. Especially with rural ag, you got those huge lots. I think you should be able to plop down a duplex if you want to.
Richard, did you have something on that? No.
the part about, I think you said something about like statute that is a guaranteed thing, that you can do that. Is that what you're saying?
That was the ADUs. I
Yeah,
think.
not for this.
But yeah, this is different. This is something that we aren't required to do by statute, if we don't have to. But it's moving a duplex from special exception to a right, can do it without special exception in rural ag and residential.
I'm also trying to predict where we're gonna go with state mandates.
Oh, yeah,
This
this
is
may
a-
come as a mandate
this is a
anyways, but it's
prediction.
not a mandate yet.
Yeah, this is a prediction I'm making, and I do think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's a pretty easy slam dunk in my opinion.
no, yeah, it is kind
I'm
of,
not saying huge multifamily complexes, simply a duplex. I really think it should be a right.
yeah, I can't think of any circumstance where they would probably deny it anyways, being a special exception.
I can't either, and that's where my head was going. If you bring a special exception to the zoning board for a duplex,
Just another hurdle to go through.
yeah, I don't know when they would ever deny that.
Anybody?
That's a good test.
I'd just be concerned as a neighbor. I think we should be looking at it, within the neighborhood.
We aren't talking, again, we aren't talking about building one particularly. A house that's already there can be turned into a duplex here as well. Even though if they were building one, it still wouldn't come in front of this board anyway. But at least, I don't know, with a building permit, I don't know how much the neighbor really has to say about it. If you've got the lot size, you can do it. Setbacks have to be adhered to.
Just remind me, when one builds a duplex, does that come before us, or is that just a code?
No.
Okay, so we're
Three
not gonna see
families.
it anyway.
Three families is a limit.
Yeah.
So we have the potential of a lot of single-family dwellings going up here, and what we'd be saying is they could all be duplexes.
How great would that be?
Hmm?
How great would that be? More tax revenue.
I'm not sure how great that would be.
Why not?
It wouldn't
I-
be more tax revenue.
Either way, I really think it should be a right. You should be able to choose with 1 acre lot sizes. I really think you should be able to choose if you want to put a duplex up. I don't see an issue with this, and I really think this is a mandate coming down from the state next year. We can't guarantee that, but you think of a residence district, I think 1, 2-family homes. I think the property owner should be able to decide if they want to put a duplex up. They can already put an ADU up by right. If they put a duplex up, you can't do an ADU. Because multifamily lots.
We can think it over, we've got time, board members, think about, we're missing a few board members too, so let's think it over.
If you're saying a duplex, you're gonna equate that to a townhouse? Because you're gonna have two,
I don't think we use townhouse in our zoning, I think it's just duplexes and two-family. I don't think we use that term in our zoning, townhouses.
We used to.
no, but what about the
Two-family.
state? Does that? Because I'm not aware, I don't know,
know.
that's why I'm asking.
I don't know, but yeah, we wouldn't equate it to something that we don't already use in our ordinance. But we can think about it as to, whether that would be a good idea or not to do that.
Just one thought before we leave the topic. To my way of thinking, it would be a change in our rural ag district. However, it's a way to shoehorn more housing units in a way that doesn't really reduce much of the green space, right? I think it could conceivably, double our housing density on that lot, but without having it in a more compact settlement pattern, in a
Right.
sense, right? So logically, I feel like, change, but it does feel like that could accomplish some.
Yeah, I think we need to start using our land more efficiently, and,
That's what it would do.
right. And this isn't even that drastic. If I was proposing multifamily, then that's a different story. Give me a few years, and I'll talk about it, but.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm trying to process it, right? So, a series of them in a row creates more of an urban feel as opposed to a, residential country, it changes the feel of the town a little bit.
I think this just gives people more options.
The lot sizes will remain the same, though.
Yeah, I
We
understand
aren't going to
that.
that density down there.
In
But you mean just the appearance?
frankly,
The appearance, people seem to be less friendly, when
well,
they have renters.
I don't like that talk. That's anecdotal.
Well, but-
It's not productive in this sort of environment. I personally think even if lot sizes were to shrink, subdividers still have an option to create acre lots, right? So in a potential future, let's just envision a future where lot sizes go down to half an acre. That doesn't mean lots have to be half acre. And I envision Swanzey, even if minimum lot sizes changed from an acre to a half acre, I still envision Swanzey subdividing lots in an acre, just because that's Swansea character, more rural.
Plus, we need to fit in septic and wells. right?
Exactly.
So,
So I think the acre is really important, but if for some reason the state mandates half-acre lot sizes, that doesn't mean people actually have to create half-acre lots.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be a mandate. It
That would
be an option.
legitimize a lot of lots actually in Swansea anyway. That's not what we're talking about. I really think this gives people more options, and we need more housing, and we have to start thinking about more housing. So, how are we gonna do that? This is a very easy change that we can make to do that.
This thing that Chad wants to bring before us, and they subdivide all these lots out, and they create an association. Are we gonna say that and that prohibits townhouse or duplexes? Are we going to override that if somebody wants to go in and build a duplex?
So local governments and HOAs are never, we do not take into account covenants, ever. Private covenants are completely different. than the ordinance. So our ordinance would set a standard, but a private covenant like an HOA, they can determine that no duplexes can be built in the neighborhood. That's a separate thing from the ordinance.
I just don't, because my brother has been involved in something like this, I just want to make sure that the understanding is that once if that is created that way, that an individual cannot come in to that area, build a duplex, and then, cite that we
If they do
say-
have a homeowners association and the CCRs say that you can have a half an acre lot, but the zoning says you have to have an acre, the zoning overrides that, town zoning overrides that.
Right, but is the zoning going to override the fact that their association says no duplexes, but our zoning says you can?
No, they could uphold that, no duplexes in there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but what has occurred, as I referenced my brother, people went in and they did it anyways. What is the recourse?
You sue the HOA.
If it's allowed, yeah, you would do that, because if it's allowed in the town, then the town has no recourse at all, because the town allows it. But if the CCRs say you don't have it, but the town says you can have it, and then someone builds it in there, then it's a legal issue between those guys.
Or the HOA would sue the builder, actually, in that situation.
So, yeah. But you know where you're getting into when, if you're buying into an association like that, you know beforehand usually what you're getting into. Personally, I would never do it. Too much control.
Yeah.
But this, what we're talking about here, I go either way on it. I think it's fine with two families in there, but I think we ought to think about it for a while. It's good presented to us, good information to think about.
Mull it over. And then just following that up, we would have to also amend the special exception section in rural ag to get rid of two-family dwelling. So that's just something that would be a domino effect of this. So nothing to really discuss there. Amendment 6 is Amendment 6 is coming at, let's see here. So this is in the residence district. In addition to aforementioned permitted uses, the following are permitted after issuance of special exception. So what I would like to do here, and this is probably the more controversial one, I imagine, is I would like to change the multifamily dwelling connected to public sewer from 3 units per acre to 12 units per acre. And that matches other zone districts. I just want it kind of uniform. This matches our business zone.
Yeah, in allowed units per acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, but big difference between the business zone and the residential zone, business is more built up anyways. And it's more, relevant to put 12 per acre on something in the business area.
I mean, this would still have to be approved by you guys.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm proposing this is because you guys are still going to be reviewing the design of multifamily. So, I mean, this is going to come before you anyway, before they're built. I think it should be increased, but it doesn't need to be increased by this much. This is kind of the maximum I was comfortable putting for people in Swanzey at least.
No, in my opinion, I think we ought to leave it as it is, because again, there's an expense to the town also when you put 12 units as opposed to 3 per acre, as far as the school system goes, taxes, all kinds of things. That's my take on it. Anybody else?
I would really like to think about this longer. I'm not jumping on this at all.
That's fair. This is gonna be me every year, trying to find ways to build more housing. So, this isn't really anything, in my mind, this isn't anything too crazy, but I understand that you guys need more time to mull it over, so.
So I know there's a difference between apartments versus single and duplexes, right? Do we know what the vacancy rate is on some of the apartments that have been built? I don't think
Yeah, we
they're-
probably do. We'll probably find out.
That would be interesting to know, because I've heard that like flatly, they're only doing the first 2 phases of 4, because they're not sure how quickly they're going to
Yeah, they're
fill
market
them up.
rate too.
It'd be good information to have, because I don't know if we're getting too far ahead of ourselves.
Well, again, I mean, this isn't mandating anything, it's just giving people options. And I really think we should start giving people more options with what they want to do with their property.
And I do like the options of more, single-family homes, and even duplexes in the right areas. It's just, I'm not sure where the people are coming from.
And again, there's the expense factor. You know, this means that they're connected to a public sewer.
Right.
Which would be, in this part of town, should be right down here, which that's at capacity pretty much now, load capacity it is now. North Swansea, not the same thing. We're going into Keene. We've got a lot of capacity over there.
And Mike's not here to talk about impact fees, so.
Yeah, well, that's next year. Yeah, we will be talking about that next year. I know for sure.
They've been talking about them this year in different places, too.
So just one other thought about this, this idea of really increasing the density is, I find it disturbing, and I know Jane does too, that so many of the units that are being built these days are really small, to the extent that basically there's very little one can do in a space that size other than, make a meal, go to bed, watch TV. And I think this will incentivize developers to continue. There is no incentive in increasing the density to have people build larger units.
Right.
So I guess I appreciate that we need a place to sleep at night, but there's more to life than,
Yeah, I mean, we're
just
never
watching
going to be
TV.
able.
So, and so often when we have this many units packed into a fairly small lot, there's no space surrounding the building where you could even have room to go and just sit outside, So it's a quality of life issue for me as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we're never going to be able to mandate size.
I know we can't mandate that, but this definitely does not incentivize size, right?
Our site plan review regulations can be updated to add standards of outdoor space. So that's something to keep in mind.
That would be great.
That would be great. I would love that.
Yeah, especially if we want to think of ourselves as a rural community. If there's no place to be outside, it's not rural.
Yeah,
Classify that as common area.
yeah. All right, and so let's get past that. We'll come back to that. Again, in residence district, I would like to permit two-family dwelling, and that's why it's crossed out. Under special exception, I really think it should be a permitted use in residence, especially residence. I can see an argument in rural ag, but in residence, it really should be permitted use.
So we're looking at amendment number 7 now?
Yep.
Okay.
Wasn't that under 6?
It was crossed out in number 6. Yeah, it was crossed out because that was a special exception. So probably need to flip the order of 6 and 7. But 7, same as we talked about earlier, I'm just proposing we move two-family dwelling from special exception to permitted use. I really do not see a future where zoning board denies a two-family dwelling. I think we should be getting rid of the red tape.
Anybody comment?
I'll let you all mull that over, especially when we have a full board.
Yeah, okay, can think it over.
This next one is interesting. This was brought to my attention with a recent zoning board application, and I looked at our ordinance. So let's get some background here. I want to amend section 5, article B.2.B, which is the business district under special exceptions. The business district is unique in that it classifies multifamily dwelling as 5 units instead of 3 units. So 5 units is unique to business district. Everywhere else in our ordinance, it's 3 units. I want to change this to 3 units to match our definition of multifamily. Because our definition of multifamily states 3 or more units. I don't know why business district should be special and have 5. Because if you build through.
Business district it's that way in the business district because we don't want to use up all our business land on units, housing units. That's why it's like that. That's why it was 5 in the business. And yeah, it can be 5 or 3 rather, in other districts because they are for residential, but business is for business. And we use up all our business land in the residential units, then that's all we got. That's why it's like that.
Then I think we should be changing our definition, or changing some language in our ordinance, because our definition states multifamily is 3 units or more. I just don't think our definition of multifamily should be different in a zoning district. I think we should be uniform with how we classify multifamily.
Well, we'll boost it to 5 on all the other ones then. How's that?
Well, it's 3 in all the other ones.
Or we'll call it the extended multifamily.
So that's the reason it's there anyways, bringing that to light. So anybody have any comments on that? Thinking about it?
Sure.
Again, it's a quality of life thing,
I mean, if you're asking about quality of life, if you want to put 3 bigger units, you can.
Right.
So,
Well, the 5 is acting a little bit more as a deterrent, I would think.
Well, you're mixing business and residential, which don't mix too well
that's
in the
the
first
bottom
place.
line, really.
And I think we should just keep it at 5. It's
Yeah, we
business
just
land.
amended that in 22.
It wasn't that long ago. No, and then we
it was
boosted it to the
22,
5. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that long
And the
ago.
only reason really is that we have the public water and sewer in the business district, so we wanted to provide for housing. That was our thinking.
not everywhere in the business district.
Excuse me?
West Swansea doesn't have public water.
We wanted to preserve the business land for business, not necessarily housing. So if you have it at the 3
That's why
units,
we
then you,
increased the number of units.
yeah. There's quite a bit of residential, rural ag land in the town for residential units, but not as much available business land that's good for business.
But if the issue is not wanting to use up business land for residential, maybe we should be thinking about.
Getting it out completely.
Yeah. I mean, if that's our goal, we're not accomplishing it this way.
No, but the multifamily kind of fits there, just because, well, we allowed it anyways in the business, but kind of fits there just because of the use. It's a more hard use of the land, we'll say,
Yeah, intensive.
And it's got usually, well, not all businesses, and I brought up, but a lot of business has water and sewer in it, which the housing needs as well.
So, if that's the consensus of the board now at least, I would like to propose a change to the multifamily definition to just say more than 2 units. Instead of calling out 3 units, I think it should be changed to separate dwelling.
Yeah.
To anything, I can wordsmith it, but it just needs to say more than 2. Because right now it calls out 3 specifically. It says 3 or more.
Either way,
but-
yeah, it means the same, because that's the RSA's definition too,
Yeah.
of multifamily, so it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Either way you want to put it,
Okay.
3 or more than 2.
We had a silly variance that I didn't think we needed necessarily. I think it should have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Just a thought or a comment or thinking out loud. If it's just dwelling units, that's where I personally would have problems with, 5 units. But if it's a second story of business fronts, then I'm good with whether it's 3 up there or 5 up there or whatever. That's what varies. You're still allowing the business as the primary activity in that area, and the dwellings are above it. So I think a lot of this is the design that is put forth of us.
If you want more flexible design, then we should change it to 3. Because if you want to build a storefront on the bottom and homes up top, 5 units, that's a hard ask.
But you take a look at Swanzey and,
Yeah.
where's that going to fit?
Exactly.
In Keene,
That's
it fits perfect in Keene, but
Yeah.
in Swansea, you don't have too many storefronts.
That's the problem. I can't really think of any areas in Swansea.
One down here on Route 10, I think, used to anyways, have an apartment over top of it.
Yeah, so I'm not saying this is a problem that we need to address right now. Maybe in the future, but I'm happy with this staying 5, if that's the consensus. I think we're going to see a bit more variances in the future for it, but that's fine. Moving right along to number 9, this is one of the state mandated changes. just changing one family and two family dwelling from 2 spaces per unit to 1 space per unit. And then multifamily dwelling, we're changing from 1.5 spaces for first bedroom plus 0.5 spaces for each additional bedroom, changing all that nonsense to 1 space per unit. So very, very clear, easy to
Easy one.
Just out of curiosity, what would the technical note say? What is it?
I don't know. I don't know yet. That's a Cordell. I have to ask Cordell to write something.
It'll say any guests need to park somewhere else.
Please see RSA, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Required by law.
That's it for the paper. I wanted to throw around some, just like a couple more, just to kind of gauge interest. I really think the state is about to mandate lot sizes next year. Do we want to get ahead of it by lowering our minimum for residents from 1 acre to ½ acre? Again, I think that they're going to mandate it. We can't guess, but if we're going to do it in any district, I think residence is a good fit. We already have a bunch of lots that are under 1 acre in residence. I think if we do minimum lot size of ½ acre, minimum frontage of 75 feet, that legitimizes a lot of lots in Swanzey, and it gives a lot of people the option to subdivide and add more single-family housing.
I say we wait till they're mandated.
I do too.
I start getting concerned about capacity. That's great if you have public water and sewer.
That would be, I think that would have to be a stipulation. And even if it wasn't, you're not gonna be able to build up water and sewer anyway. So if you can't fit it on a half lot, then you don't need to have a half lot. You just have, you have an acre, definitely.
Vermont got in a lot of trouble when they tried to shoehorn that much development into not very good land.
Well, the thing about minimum size is you don't have to do a ½ acre. You can still do 1 acre. And there are a lot of residence lots that are way under 1 acre. They're under a ½ acre, and they're doing pretty good. Well, start getting your minds thinking about it, because we're going to be talking to you again next year about it. Trying to allow us to build more housing.
So.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll hear it more than next year, or a year after that, year after that.
Every single year.
We'll just, we'll take it as it comes along.
And then the last thing, I am budgeting for what do we call it? A consultant to look over our ordinance. Because every year I find more and more deficiencies, but language inconsistencies. It's been Frankensteined for so long, I think it's getting really messy. I want to hire somebody to go through it, to comb through it, and advise if we need a rewrite or not. Is this board interested in pursuing a fresh new coat of paint for our zoning ordinance?
We know we need a rewrite. I mean, why do we need a consultant to tell us we need a rewrite? I think we know that.
And what's it gonna cost?
It's mainly to see, where we are deficient and to prevent legal issues. The only reason we need a consultant really is to prevent legal issues down the line.
But how many legal issues have we had throughout the years on our zoning ordinance? We have had some, I'm sure, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but we probably have. But again, what's it gonna cost us to have a consultant do that, something that we're supposed to be doing ourselves?
I'd kind of rather see the consultant on the other, if we're concerned about legal issues, rewriting the ordinance and then having it reviewed to make sure we don't have legal issues after we revise
Like
it.
we're doing with these.
Exactly.
Running by the
Yeah.
attorney.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys have the capacity to go line by line and rewrite an entire ordinance. I can't think of any municipality whose planning board has rewritten an entire ordinance. Everyone has to hire this out.
But I thought you were talking about hiring a consultant to see whether we needed to do this work. I think we're in agreement that we need to do the work. So don't we need a consultant rather to do the work?
Are we in agreement, though? I don't know.
I don't think we do, unless we know what it's gonna cost. I don't think we should say we're gonna do it.
So maybe we get the whole board together and
Yep.
poll the board to see where they're at. Because I want to see a rewrite take place.
But we're your boss.
No, I know that, that's what, I'm just bringing you stuff. I wanna see a rewrite take place. One of you guys wants to see a rewrite take place, not you necessarily, Bill. But I would really like us to move, I'm not saying the page count needs to go any higher than it is, but I think we need a fresh coat of paint on this Frankenstein ordinance.
I think there's, some structure, some organization, and some consistency. I think all those are good things. We just want to make sure that we're not changing the meaning of what we have without it going through this board, which it would have to go through the board anyway, so.
It would, and depending what the changes are, they have to go through town meeting as well, official ballot.
So-
It doesn't depend, they would all have to go to town meeting, it would actually be a lot like the wetlands amendment. It would say replace
The
all
entire
of the
ordinance.
zoning ordinance
Yeah.
with a new zoning
It'd
ordinance
probably
come
have
to
to,
town hall.
it'd be too much, yeah.
I think that is a goal.
Do you have an idea of what that might run? I thought maybe I heard a number today.
I have some idea, but they're all ballpark. So, we are budgeting for it though. So I just want to bring Swanzey into, the current, the current time. But otherwise, that's it. That's all I got.
The fresh coat of paint is one thing, but if you're serious about checking vocabulary and intent, then you're going to wind up tearing down and rewriting everything.
Yeah.
So, put away the fresh coat of paint, because that's meaningless. What you're asking for is a tear down of each section and rewriting it if it needs to be rewritten.
How about this, new foundation? So when we start Frankensteining in the future, we Frankenstein from something a bit better than what we have.
So, my issue with the ordinance currently is really structural more than content.
Yes.
So, I think, the regulations that we have, and I think they work really well. So to me, it's more sort of reorganizing and making better outlines, and I'd love to see some charts in there. I love the chart that shows it's rather than listing in a linear form permitted uses, I'd love to see a chart, because then you easily, quickly grasp, say, what the permitted uses are, what are the special exceptions in a district. So, to my way of thinking, it's more like graphic design than it is, or having a good outline, good logical outline.
Yeah.
Than it is the content itself. I don't have problems with content.
I look at it as grammatical and structure and intent. And if we could con Jane into doing that, she's a former English teacher. Go through that.
Seems how she's not here to object.
She's
We nominate her. Well, we can think about that too. If we do that this year, if we don't do it. I don't know that we need to. I'm with Victoria on that. I think that the ordinance is fine, but yeah, it does need some tweaking made here and there, work and so on and so forth. But it hasn't caused us much problem in the past. And that probably indicates it's not going to cause us much problem in the future.
Yeah, it is like Victoria, I agree with you that that's the main problem. In my mind, it's a structural nightmare to go through this ordinance. I hate referencing this ordinance.
So, in practical terms, does that mean that, I'm wondering, could we just do section by section, but part of your issue is how the different sections interrelate with each other?
Well, yes. Think about how long it's taken us to get the wetlands ordinance down. Now picture doing that for all.
Well, but we were adding a lot of, we
It's
have
gonna
the
be the same.
conditional use process to that,
We're going to be spending that amount of time on every single section,
yeah.
I imagine. Or at least half the time. It's going to be a few years of work.
I think it'd be less time.
Yeah, I think most of the sections are more straightforward than
Yeah,
the wetlands.
that's what I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I thought we kind of went through and objectively looked at everything in the zoning a couple of years ago.
That was our site plan review regulations, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but
But-
we, the point being that, you know, as a committee or planning board, we went through it on our own
Yeah,
and reviewed it and made sure our intent was what we had printed and stuff.
yeah, you're saying, yeah, we went through it on our own, and why couldn't we do it, this one on our own, section by section? And I'm with that, I'm fine with that, yeah, we could do that. You know,
Because we had
take
some,
longer,
yeah,
we could do it.
we had downtime after the town meeting, and I think that's when we started doing that.
Hell, it could go either way.
Yep.
So
Either way, I'm looking at it, so.
I kind of love doing that kind of stuff, like putting it in a spreadsheet and, the before, the after. I kind of think it's a kick. So
like
I'd
all
be
the-
all about it, really.
You like all the different colors.
Yeah. But, I think it can feel daunting if we're like flipping through, 17 different iterations, but if we can get them all, in one document,
And maybe get rid of some stuff in there too,
it
yeah,
doesn't,
with that in mind.
doesn't feel so daunting to me. If we could do it section by section, and some of the sections would be easy, I think, because there's just not that much in there that we can change.
The reason we want to hire somebody, in my opinion, that they're a professional, I don't know what their actual job title is, but there are professionals that go through ordinances of towns our size. They know what to look out for. They know the questions you're gonna ask. They know what problems might come up. They know how to handle public interaction, public education. I think it would really, while we're dealing with day-to-day work, site plan review, all of our regular applications, it will take us a couple of years. And so in my mind, it really is better to hire a professional to do this work.
I think it would be helpful for me as a board member to know what the specific problems are that we'd hope a consultant to address. So, because,
That's up to us to figure out, really,
well,
you know?
but Adam's,
I want a third party to review. And
yeah,
I want somebody else outside of Swanzey to look at this. And I would like to get another set of eyes on it, because I think that's helpful. It is helpful for somebody that doesn't live in the community to look at an ordinance objectively and see where we might run into issues in the future.
And we see that all the time, with site plans coming in, you have another set of eyes looking at it with every site plan that comes in.
Yeah, and the only reason that we don't run into more problems is because we troubleshoot before it gets to the planning board. I mean,
But that doesn't have much to do with the ordinance, does it? Troubleshooting?
no,
What do you mean?
So all I'm saying is that 2026, we budgeted for an ordinance audit, probably going to have an ordinance audit.
If the planning board says no, though, it's probably no. If the planning board votes not to do it, and that we want to do it ourselves, that's probably what's going to happen.
I think this might be a town hall. This might be a town hall, just we have the money, we're gonna do it. So,
So regardless of what the planning board thinks, you're
I
going
mean,
to override us?
you
I don't know
guys are in
about that.
charge of changes to the ordinance, but
Right.
if we want to hire somebody and we have budgeted to hire somebody to look at the ordinance, I personally think it's a good idea. And I would like to hear the entire board's thoughts on it. I really think it's a good idea to have somebody look at the ordinance.
All right, we'll wait and get the entire board together,
Okay?
think about it.
And you're only talking about the ordinance.
And your thought?
Only the ordinance, yeah. And it would be only the ordinance.
No, because there's auxiliary, ancillary processes and stuff, sending out
That would all
letters.
change, that would all have domino effects, yeah.
Is this, what your thought process, is this going to be, I'm assuming independent, but away from us?
What do you mean?
Meaning that whoever, if this goes through, the individual is going to look at this, and who are they going to report to? Are they going to come into us and say, this is what I think you should do, without asking us what our intent was, or any sort of input from the board?
No, I imagine they would speak to the board directly.
You imagine, but what?
There kind of has to be, they kind of have
Yeah.
to come to
They're
the
gonna
board.
have to speak to the
So-
board.
So, yeah, they may confer with Adam on it throughout the reading of it, but any types of changes or suggestions has to come in front of the planning
Yeah,
board.
nothing can happen without the board's approval.
But,
But having somebody look at the ordinance, I mean, I really think that's valuable. And especially with how many state regulations are coming down, you know, we're probably gonna see even more next year. If we get ahead of this stuff, I think it's valuable. And we stop wasting our time on amendments that we don't need.
like, what,
Yeah.
what amendments don't we, and we haven't needed? You mean the state ones, you mean?
No,
The
I'm
recent
saying-
ones, what are you talking about? You know? I guess,
Essentially, it's an audit of our ordinances.
Essentially, yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
I mean, I don't
You
know
know,
what the
and
last
if
time
it's,
we had something.
You know, if it's a $5, even a $10,000, you know, tag to do that and report back and make the recommendations of this and that, whatever, and now it's in the hands of this board, that seems like a reasonable approach.
Yeah, and it would be a recommendation.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a mandate, it would have to be a
But if
recommendation.
it's a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deal, I don't see the value in that, so.
I don't have that budget,
Yeah.
frankly, so.
So I think it's something to think about, but
well, think about it.
Would it be a sundown position? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
No, I don't.
one time.
It would be a one-time deal. That is not going to be something that goes into a budget and then it's going to be continual
Oh,
down the road.
yeah, I mean, frankly, municipalities, in my experience, they typically do these every 20 years. They do an audit of their ordinance, they rewrite, I'm surprised that this hasn't happened yet in Swansea, personally.
So if this is a consultant, I would anticipate that they would, at the beginning of the process, choose to come and interview planning board to find out what our issues are with the existing ordinance. And I'm presuming if it's Bill, who also is recommending this step, that they would be interviewing members
He's a
of the
supporter
zoning
of
board.
it.
He's supportive, but
it-
also interviewing the zoning board, who has to work with
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, all land use boards.
And Bill has a great deal of familiarity with the ordinance, so he would be,
Mhm.
a good voice. But I guess I would really like to see
Yeah.
this person not just sort of jump in, but spend some time figuring out what our problems are with it in an attempt to correct those.
I think they would have to.
Yeah.
I would hope they did.
Well, sometimes that kind of thing doesn't happen, sometimes it's,
Yeah.
just gonna give you my
But
expertise.
like Adam said, it happens eventually with the planning board. The planning board has to approve anything that's changed.
Right,
So,
but isn't it smart to do it at the beginning of the process,
Yeah.
as well as
I
at
guess
the
it
end
is,
of the
but
process?
I think what Adam's saying is that he doesn't want any interference, pretty much. An independent person doesn't interview everybody and then find what their ideas are and then go through it. I think independence is that you're reading it from, with blinders on, with nothing, and then you're saying, well, I think this and this and this, and then you get the planning board to say, well, it's not that way because of such and such. That's how I'm viewing
Yeah,
it.
I don't know what the workflow looks like. Ultimately, though, this is something I've been thinking about since I got hired. And happened to find Bill as a supporter, but ultimately, even if he didn't support it, I still think we should still look at it.
Anybody else?
need more information.
Okay, anything for the good of the order? Then a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Richard, is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I was giving him a chance.
You were giving him the chance.
Yeah, I was looking at that, like saying,
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.